Hello and welcome to my kitchen. Today we are going to be demonstrating how to make a traditional fried bannock. So sit back and put your feet up and have some fun watching. So bannock recipes have come to us from a long time ago, and nobody's really quite sure where it originally came from. However, it's pretty clear that most cultures and most traditions had their own version of a bannock recipe. The word bannock comes from an old English term bannock, or a Gaelic word bannock, and it means morsel. And quite often back in the day, fried bannock turned out to be something like a hockey puck when they made it, because the ingredients were very basic. They were lard, flour, and a little bit of water. So now bannock recipes have become more modern with different ingredients and with different cooking utensils and different ways of cooking the bread. So today we're going to make a fried bannock recipe, and there are really a lot of versions of it. This one is using milk. So we're going to start off with 4 cups of all white flour in your bowl, and we're going to add to it 2 heaping tablespoons of baking powder. And the baking powder, of course, is very important so that your bannock is not hockey puck-like, but becomes more light and fluffy with the rise that the baking powder gives it. So we'll put in 2 heaping tablespoons of baking powder, and we'll put in a pinch of sugar. Some people like to put a whole tablespoon. And then, of course, some salt. This is coarse salt ground down, and I usually put in about a half a teaspoon. So you can get that mixed together however you like, with your hands or through a strainer or with a spoon, however you like. Then we're going to add in some warm milk. Now, a lot of traditional bannock recipes call for water. I like to use milk because it doesn't change the consistency too much, but I also am not a huge milk drinker, so through this recipe I get some of my daily dosage of my milk. Now you're going to mix it all together until it becomes like a dough. So it was conventionally believed that Scottish fur traders from the old days introduced bannock to the indigenous people of North America during the 18th and 19th centuries. The Scots cooked it in a griddle called a bannock stone, which they placed on the ground or the floor in front of the fire. So Scottish bannock was made of barley or pea meal or oatmeal, and wheat flour was introduced quite a bit later. The indigenous people adopted bannock, often using corn flour or plants rather than wheat flour of the Europeans. However, the story isn't always so straightforward. It is now understood that many indigenous communities had their own pre-colonial versions of bannock. Indigenous peoples in Canada were consuming unleavened bread-like foods from the starch or flour of underground stems of ferns, which were cooked or baked on rocks over fire, in sand, or in cooking pits. For example, camas bulbs, which is from the lily family, would have been baked for long periods of time, dried, and then flattened or chopped and formed into cakes or loaves. Okay, so my dough is mixed, but it's really sticky. So that says to me that it needs more flour. So I'm going to stir in some more flour and get it so that it's got more of a dough-like consistency. We don't want it to be confused with the bannock that you bake in an oven, because we are not baking this, we are frying it and it needs a different consistency for frying. It needs to be a little bit more sticky for frying than it does for baking. But mine was way too sticky, so I wanted to add a little bit more flour. It's looking good now. I probably added a little bit too much flour, so I'm not going to mix it all in totally. I'm just going to take a little bit of the stickiness out and give it a few more kneads. Now, one of the secrets to dough recipes that a lot of people don't follow is to let your dough rest. So after you've got it kneaded to how you like it, you're going to let it rest for about 10 minutes. And I just want to give it a few kneads to prepare it for the pan now. It's a nice sized dough that 4 cups of flour will make you. It'll give you a lot of pieces of fried bannock. So after it's kneaded out, just press it down or roll it if you want to the desired thickness of your pieces. You don't want it too fat because then it won't cook in the middle. And you don't want it too thin because then it doesn't taste so good. You don't get all that yummy goodness. So roll it out. Get it ready for the frying pan. And once you have it rolled out, I'm going to cut mine in half because I don't have that much workspace here. Once you have it rolled out, you're going to get your frying pan ready. So a really good frying pan to use is cast iron. And lately, I've been using my rock frying pan because it seems to hold the heat as nice as a cast iron does. It spreads all the heat around the pan evenly, and it's much easier to clean than a cast iron. So I have some canola oil that I'm going to add to the pan. I use canola oil because it withstands the heat better and doesn't burn so quickly. So I'm going to add about enough to cover your bannock about halfway up the sides. And then you're going to heat it on medium-high. You don't want it too hot that it's bubbling because it won't cook the bannock properly. While that's heating, you cut your bannock into the shapes that you want it in. If my grandkids were here, I would probably cut it into fancy shapes. But it's just me today. So I'm going to just cut it into basic shapes. I also like to cut a hole or two in slits, I guess you would call them, in the center of the bannock to help evenly cook it. There. Use my knife to unstick it so that when the oil is ready, I just have to easily pick up my pieces and transfer them over to the pan. There we go. Looks good. Perfect. Now wait for the oil to heat up and we'll be good to go. Okay, so the oil is hot. I'm going to gently put in my first piece. Then I'm going to get some more and add them in to fill up the pan. See how the oil is nice and hot. Spread them out in the pan. Get as many in as you can. I think I got room for one more. How about this one? Okay. All right. So we're going to let that stay like that until we start seeing that it's getting brown around the bottom. You don't want to keep flipping them because if you keep flipping them, they're going to just take on more of the oil. So just let them cook for a few minutes on their own, and they will do their job. See how it's getting nice and bubbly and light, fluffy? That's exactly what we want. Let's take a look. See that color on there? Beautiful. Flip that over. And flip over the other ones. Oh, nice. And of course that smell is that deep fried goodness that everybody loves, including myself. And you can see how quick that is too. It doesn't take long. So you want to not walk away from this at all, because then you're going to end up with real hockey pucks. Just let it continue to cook. If you think that it's getting too hot and it starts to have a strong odor, turn your oil down a bit. I have it on medium-high. Now I'm turning it down to medium because the oil is nice and hot. And we just want to retain that heat so that it's balanced. I'm going to check this one now. Oh yeah, like look at that. Beautiful color. And then what I do is I take it and I put it on a plate with a paper towel, so that the paper towel can absorb that excess oil and we won't be eating it, because we all know that that's not exactly healthy. So you can fry your bannock in a frying pan, or you can do it in a deep fryer, whichever way suits you best. I did mine in a frying pan just because I don't have a deep fryer anymore. And as you can see, that recipe with just the 4 cups of flour made a big batch, enough to feed a good sized family. Now, you know, and bannock is a great food. It's cheap, it's affordable, it's fast, it's easy to make. You can use it in sandwiches, you can use it for anything. You can use it to dip in your soup, you can eat it cold. I like it hot. You can use it for breakfast, you can use it for supper, you can eat it anytime you want. Light, it's fluffy, it's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful food. I like mine with cheese whiz. Lots of people like it with jam, peanut butter, anything. And it's really a good food to take camping too, or on overnight hikes, walks, that type of thing. You just have to pre-mix your flour and your salt and your baking powder, and carry a bottle of water with you and your frying pan. And then wherever you are and you want to make yourself some bannock, you just pull out your ingredients, get it mixed together, and start a fire, and there you go. Your bannock is going to be fresh, and it's going to fill you up. And it's a favorite of so many people, including me. Enjoy.